of reacting to an event even before it happened. He felt the rumble of David's truck in the yard and moved himself from the living room to another part of the house. Or feeling the displacement of air that told Steve's movement no matter where he was, and Paul always able to find him. Steve was stealth to everyone else. Paul in the shed sitting quietly, handing tools as Steve worked to reshape the bent harvester lip. Paul could feel a footprint ripple through miles through earth, or so it appeared to Alberta. Somehow there was never any need to tell him where she was, either, or where she was going. He would find her if ever he needed. Alberta in her room reading Lolita. The character intrigued and disgusted her. What was it about older men and younger women? The way even old Samson had stared through her as he went by, almost hungry, not caring who noticed. She thought of the long hair he once had and the columns he leaned against, with the rest of the old men in the afternoon, their communal vantage from the front porch of McDougal's General Store. She was all hormone and hate. Don't trust anyone, Mary said. Emma still pretending her daughter was 6 years old. There were the cards from the relatives that appeared months late, not realizing her father had died, or forgetting. How do you forget someone has died? Relatives her parents wouldn't have seen for years, relatives that lined flesh and blood in the either side of cancelled stamps in the abstract devotion. Who lived in her mother's rare stories, or those that her father had told, and knew little or nothing of Alberta's ambitions or her brother's silences. The heart of a candy cane, a Slavic Christmas without him, her mother slaving across kitchen counters, fruit and meat pies, a line of cookie shapes and rows anticipating decoration. Alberta barely a character within her own story, wondering where the story went, wondering where the life she remembered had gone. What's in a name? Alberta named for where she wasn't, a province short. What a name becomes. What a body became, shaped like the skin grown around a wound or foreign object. Emma named for her paternal grandmother. Alberta's father named for a beloved uncle on his own father's side. Alberta had no such familial connections. Paul, on the other hand, simply a name that their parents had liked, a name that sounded Canadian. What, Alberta wondered, was that? Barely anything, as though neither of them really belonged or had any connection to their own family histories. Did it matter? Alberta named for the hope of a province unfulfilled, and Paul for a promise that came through but, at least for her father, never continued. How could either of her parents be here, her mother sometimes acting as though she'd never left Europe, or pining for what she had long left behind? An afternoon in the field behind the house, Alberta counting rocks along the fence line as she lay on her back, mashing warm grass. The stone barrier, 2 feet tall by 3 wide, from the farm that had been the farm before, by the trees. The foundation beyond the remains of a barn. Black came out from the east out of nowhere. She could feel the air pressure change through the small hairs on her forearms, topsoil blowing and silt, smell the rain before she felt it. Alberta was caught. A few hundred yards from the kitchen door, she picked herself up as it started and was pounded. During the first few minutes, steam rising up from the ground, the sky black into gray. There was no point in running. She was soaked by the time she was half back to the house. She could barely see where she was headed, but for a kitchen porch light. You're all still here. It's good that you're clapping for yourself while still being here. This poetry book came out a couple weeks ago, written while I was in Edmonton.